Hey all, Lawrence from Express to Unity here, and today we are going to be finishing off our multiplayer game. Now, I'm probably going to be making more multiplayer game tutorials in the future, but as for this project, all we're going to do is add a little endpoint to our level that says what player won, and then maybe underneath that a disconnect button. Yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing we want to add is a new block, and this block is going to be the endpoint. So we can drag that over here. Let's drag it on this end, just to make it a little bit more tricky for the players. Okay, so I'm gonna call this block end. I'm also going to give it a new tag called end, and I'm going to give it a different colored material, and I'm just going to call that end as well, and drag that on, and we'll make it green. Maybe even give it some transparency so we can see the players behind it, just a little bit of transparency. Excuse me. Yeah, like I said, that looks pretty good. Alrighty, so let's get into our code. Now, if you haven't already watched the tutorial where I convert everything to Photon 2, I suggest you do give it a watch, as I'm now using Photon 2 to make the rest of the game. Basically in the video I just show you how to convert the project. I'm completely new to Photon 2. I think it only came out like a week ago, and I only started using it in the video showing how to convert it. So we kind of learned together the new process of how Photon works. Alright, so let's see now what we want to do. Let's actually go into our canvas, and let's go ahead and make a new panel, and let's shrink that down, put it in the center. Let's make the panel black. We'll call this wind panel. Inside the wind panel, we're going to want a button, and we will call it disconnect, and let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make the text for the button a little bit bigger, maybe even bold, and let's call it disconnect. I'm also going to make the transparency of the button maybe like, let's see, 155, and we'll also make it a darker color, and let's go ahead and change the text color to white. So that looks somewhat decent. We can also add a little shadow technique to give it some outline. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4 shadow components. You don't need to do this, this is solely for visual effect. So we'll make the X on the first two 0, and then Y on the top one -2, and the bottom one 2. And then 0 out the Y on the bottom 2, and for the X on the first one we'll make it -2, and for the bottom one 2. Alright, so now I'm going to change the color to something... so some weirdness now. Let's go ahead and make the button not transparent, because otherwise you see the outline through the button. I kind of forgot about that, so let's just go ahead and make everything else red. Like that. Nice disconnect button there. You could just make it a tad thicker. Let's make it 4 instead of -2. Yeah, there we go, that looks somewhat decent. So now let's go ahead and add a new text, and we'll call this text winner, and we'll just scale it to about the size of the top half of the window. We'll put it in the center. Let's make it maybe a green color. Scale it up. And let's go ahead and do our shadow for this one as well. So 0, 0, -4 and 4, and then 0, 0, -4 and 4. And let's go ahead and not make the shadow transparent because we don't want these weird edges. We just want it to be a nice solid line. Like so. Alright, that looks somewhat decent. And then the text will say something like player 1 is the winner. So that'll be our little UI for the end screen. So let's go ahead and disable that because we don't want it enabled until the player does win. So let's go ahead and make a new float inside the multiplayer manager. Let's say public bool a player has won. We'll make that equal to false. And then in the serialized view, we want to do stream.send next. A player has won. And then we want to do a player has won equals bool, and then stream.receive next. This basically just synchronizes the boolean across the players. And then on the player over here, let's do something like if mp.aPlayer has won, then we want to return because we don't want to move the player anymore. Because what will happen is if there's a player that has won and then this player continues to move and hits the block, there will be some weirdness happening. So we want to stop the player from moving as soon as possible. However, if you do want to keep the players from moving, then maybe a simple way would just be removing the exit block, which would involve you putting a Photon view onto the block and then destroying the block once a player has collided with it. That's not what I want to zoom into. Alrighty, I'm just going to give it a quick save because lately for some reason Unity has been acting up and crashing, and I'm actually not sure if that is because of Photon 2. Because it only started crashing after Photon 2 installed onto this project. Okay, so yeah, that should be it for the player. Excuse me. Okay. Actually, no, that's not it. So now we want to do in the on collision enter, we want to do if collision dot game object dot tag is equal to end. I can't remember if I capitalized it. Let me take a quick look. Oh, I didn't actually change the tag. Oh yeah, it is capitalized. So just change the tag. Okay. So let's get a reference in the multiplayer manager to our win screen. So let's make a new public game object win panel, and then we'll make another public text, and we'll call this win text because we want to alter the text depending on what player hits the exit button. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and assign those values. So in the multiplayer manager, once it compiles. Alrighty, so our win panel and our win text. Alright, let's give it a quick save. So when we end, what we're going to do is do mp dot. We also probably want to do an RPC call on this. So void, we'll call it has1, and make this a pun RPC. And now in here we'll do mp dot a player has one equal to true. Just gonna quickly make sure I made it false. Yes, I did. So player has one is equal to true. We also want to do mp dot winner text or win text equal to username plus has won the game. Oh, we'll call it race because it is kind of a race, like so. Also, it's win text dot text, like so. And we don't want to do username equals that. We want to do username plus the rest. Okay, and then above all that, we want to do mp dot win panel dot set active. No, this is still win text dot win panel dot set active, and we want to set it to true. So now on collision end, let's go ahead and do. Also, we want to do the if photon is mine. Okay, now inside of this, we want to do photon view dot RPC, and we want to call our has1 RPC, and then RPC targets dot all. Now remember, RPC targets is a new wording that was changed in Photon 2. So so if you do have Photon 1, this is called something different. I can't remember exactly what it was called. I think it was like Photon target or something like that. But yeah. So now that we hit the end, this will fire, set our win panel, set our text, and set our boolean. So let's go ahead and just quickly try this locally. Oh, actually we won't be able to try it locally because we need 2 players before the match starts. So let's just go ahead and build and run. It's just the train going by, don't mind it. Sadly, like I said, I'm in the process of moving, so my microphone will pick up absolutely everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and play on this window, and play on that window. So the one to our left will be our test, we'll log in. The one to our right will be our rand login. So join or create, waiting for players, join or create, timer starts, and we're in. So I'm just going to move to the exit cube with this test account. Over here, and I'll bring the random over there as well. To make testing easy for this, you could always drag the spawn points on the other side just to see it all working. Alright, so we'll try this out. So I can currently move on both players. If we hit the end cube with the random account, okay, well it says rand has one on one side. It's not going through on the other. I can no longer move on this side, however. So it's working on one client. Alright, let's take a look at what's going on. Pretty sure it should be working. We may not need the Photon view is mine. I'll just give it a quick test. Yeah, we'll give it a try. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure if it's not there, that function will be called by every single user, making the username always be whatever the local player is, but we'll give it a try. Come on, build, hurry up. I'm gonna actually make it a bit bigger because I've noticed in the videos that it is maybe a little bit too small. Alright, there we go. So test, S23, login, rand, and rand23, login. Do you want to create? Do you want to create? Alright. Just quickly navigate the level. Try not to die in the process. Actually, I don't think we've actually done anything for when we've hit 0 health, so maybe we can quickly implement that when we hit 0 health, we'll just go back to the spawn, and then it'll reset our health. Alright, so we'll hit with the test account. Alright. So test is 1. Oh, hold on. Okay, this time I can't move on rand, so it is working for the boolean, but not quite for the panel. Interesting. When panel set active to true. What we here, we'll try this. So the player has one is working, which means this is probably working as well. So in multiplayer manager, in game start, co-players, in here, let's try if a player has one, then we want to do when panel.set active to true. Now remember that this is going to be called once every frame unless you have some sort of boolean, but it's not a big game and it's the end screen, so it's not really going to matter that much. But just be warned that if your game is bigger, this line here is going to be pretty costly on your game because it runs every frame and it doesn't need to run every frame. So if you wanted to make it run only once, just make a boolean, set it to false, and then say something like if the boolean is false, then set it to true, and that's how you can make it to run once. Okay, so we'll give that a shot. Oops, I did not mean to unmount that. Okay, save it. Save Unity, let it compile, and build and run. Okay, we'll play, and actually, let's to save time, let's just move this cube over here. Alright, save, build and run. Alrighty, so test, oops. Journal create, wait for the timer. Alright, so let's try bringing the test over here. Well, that's tragic, now the panel doesn't, I mean, I can't move on either player, so half of it is working. Just give me a second to look through and see if I've misdone something. You may be able to get away with doing something like mp.winPanel not set active to true in the end, because both players should have that collision, so that should enable, and then the rest should sync the text on the panel. Yeah, we'll give it a try. Wait for it to build. Or compile rather. Now we'll save and build and run. Alrighty. Journal create and journal create. We'll move test into the cube, and it, well, works on his side, not the other. I wonder why. We could always we'll give this a shot. Let's go over here in the MP manager, make a public void set winner, and we'll give a string, and let's go ahead and move the RPC onto the MP manager. Also, we want to do something like string s. Remove all the MP dot since we're inside the MP manager now. Excuse me, and inside this function we'll do Photon view RPC. The name of the RPC, which is has1, and then RPC target.all, and excuse me, we'll go string s, and then we will pass in s as a parameter, and then we'll just do s plus has1 the race. Okay, so that should work better on the MP manager. So now all we need to do on this side is call mp dot set winner, and we want to pass in the username of the current player. So we'll save this, give this another check, set winner, calls the RPC, should run all players, sets the panel to true, sets the text, and the player is 1 to true as well. Alright, we'll save it and give it a test. Build and run. It also could be a new quirk of Photon 2, so we'll have to figure it out. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong now that wasn't so wrong in Photon 1. Log in. Do you want to create? Do you want to create? Okay. Alright, so now it's almost working. Oh wait, no, it is working. Sorry, I kind of misread it because rand on this screen was close to it. So yeah. Okay, so it is working. So test hit the cube first. So test has won the race. Test has won the race. So that is all good. Awesome. So for that disconnect button, we'll just do something really basic. So in multiplayer manager, let's go ahead and make a public void disconnect. That is not the function I wanted. Disconnect, oh my goodness. Yeah, disconnect. Okay, so we also want to be using from Unity dot, no, what's that? Oh, sorry, Unity engine. Unity engine dot scene management. And we'll just quickly go into build settings. Okay, so the ID is 0. Let's just go ahead and do scene manager dot load scene, and we'll load this scene. Before that, however, we want to do photon network dot leave room. Alright, so if we do Photon, there's a few functions in Photon network that do different things. So if we do Photon network.disconnect, that will disconnect your client from the master server, which is probably what you want, since loading the scene will come up with the login again. So let's go ahead and do this. So what will happen is it'll leave the lobby of the room, and then it'll disconnect from the network, and then it'll load the scene again. So this is just a basic thing that we can do. Now in the player, over here, what we can do is once it has 0 health, let's go ahead and copy the MP manager position here. Once it has 0 health, did I make these public? Yeah, I did. So MP dot did I not make them public? Oh, that's right, because it automatically gets the spawn points. So let's just make it public so that we can use it inside the player. And then what we'll do is transform.position equals to pose, and then we also want to make health equal max health, and then we can just get rid of this bit down here. So let's go ahead and save. Come on. And we will drag our endpoint, oops, not there. Drag it over here, just so it's a bit closer. And we'll go save. And that should be it. This should be the completed version of our game. So play, we'll log in with our test account and our rand account. Trying to create, excuse me, timer starts. So let's go ahead with the test user. Let's just, oh cool, okay. We'll take no damage. Huh. Wait, am I blind or did I accidentally remove? Oh, okay. I think I accidentally, I must have accidentally removed the damage function when I moved the has one, because I'm pretty sure it was above it. So we just need to make another one. And then we'll do health, take away equal 20. And that should be it for that. Save, and it should all work now. Let it compile. Build and run. We'll play it. And now we'll log in. Timer starts. Let's move both players forwards a bit. And I'm now taking damage on both screens, and once I hit 0, I respawn, and I'm now at 100 health again. So if we do it for the rand, it should perform exactly the same. I'm actually a little bit laggy. But yeah, there you go. Okay, so now I'm just going to move random up to the exit cube here, or the win cube. There we go. Rand has won the race. If we disconnect, oh, we got one little thing, which is in the win panel under disconnect. We want to add a new on-click event, drag our multiplayer manager in there, and in the MP manager script, we want to call the disconnect function. So let's save that and do another quick build and run. Join to create, waiting for players, join to create, and now we are starting the countdown. Quickly check if it's still working. Okay, that was a little weird on this end, but I mean it's still working. So now we'll just move the test. Actually, we did test cube last time. Let's move the random. Okay. Rand has won the race. Disconnect. Back at the login screen, and it's removed it from this side over here. Disconnect, and there we go. Connection is disconnected, so now we can go ahead and log back in. Do the same for this. Log back in. Join to create. Waiting for players. Join to create. Timer starts. And looks like it's all working fine. Alrighty, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Everything's working. So yeah, this is the basic multiplayer game. This should teach you some or most of the skills needed to create your own multiplayer game. Everything I showed you here is what you need to create basically anything, be it an FPS, a RPG of some sort. Everything I showed you here should allow you to create basically any game you can think of. So yeah, you can create a bullet system. Basically it's the same, just instead of having the walls, you can maybe shoot it as a projectile and synchronize the velocity. So yeah, if you like this tutorial, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And I will be making more multiplayer tutorials. I'm not sure what the games will be, but if you want to see something specific that you want to learn, it can be multiplayer or single player related. It really doesn't bother me. But yeah, just leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you stick through for every single episode, I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.